back to the Silver Skillet. Welcome back to kind of the second video of me talking about my new raised bed garden. As you remember last time, I was talking about why I chose newspaper as far as my seed starter. And I also talked about placement of my garden. So it is going to fringe right on the edge of my native plant garden, but that's fine because I did study that garden last year and I know what grows out there. So I know before I ever put down a raised bed what has to be dug out. I'm not going to bother with the rocks because I live in the Ozarks and I would just spend the rest of my life pulling big rocks out of the dirt. I'm just going to have to assume that my little root hairs are going to be able to get past those big rocks if there are any out there. I'm not digging those up. It's set back far enough from trees that I should not have to contend with any kind of tree roots. I may have to deal with some shrubs, things like wild blackberry, for instance, and those will have to be pulled up, as well as any big clumps of grass. Grass is my enemy. I don't like grass. But as far as any of the weeds that grow out there, like I said, I studied that area last year. I know absolutely everything that grows out there. And mostly what I'm going to be covering or suppressing is going to be a lot of daisy fleabane. And I'm not too worried about that because I also studied my insects and I know that daisy fleabane wasn't exactly their favorite anyway last year, so it's not going to be a great loss. I'm sure there are a lot of fans of daisy fleabane, so don't be hating on me. There's still going to be some daisy fleabane out there, just not in that area anymore. So, okay, so placement was good. It's in a spot where I can get to water. I have a water catchment off of the roof of this cabin now, so it's in a place where I can get to water. It's in a place where I can keep an eye on it and watch out for deer. As far as any other critters that might get into my garden, I did think about what to put under my raised bed as far as anything burrowing. And I weighed all the pros and cons of what kind of weed suppressor I would put down and whether or not I would put down any kind of wire like I do around my chicken pen. I don't think I'm going to need any wire. If it's a big critter and it happens to start burrowing, I do have a dog. If it's small critters that start to burrow, I have cats. So I'm going to rely on those animals to take care of those situations. I don't think I'm going to use any kind of a weed stop because that's going to prevent my earthworms and my helpful microbes from entering the raised bed soil and going back down to the depths that I want them to go. And so I want them up there, leaving those castings and aerating that soil and getting up into there and doing what they do and making magic in that soil. I don't want to put down any weed stop because that would stop them from going back and forth. Now you could drill holes and still get some earthworm activity in and out of your garden, but it's just not enough for me. So I'm going as purely organic as I can. And so in the end, what we decided, and I didn't want to do gravel or any kind of, cinder blocks or anything like that, because that would, change the pH. And there are some harmful chemicals in that. And I don't want that in my garden either. Plus, your roots can't get through stuff like that. And so I thought long and hard, and I've decided the one thing that I have a plethora of is leaves. And so we're going to just be pulling away leaves. We don't want them in the pond anyway, pulling them away, chopping them up, and then putting a nice thick layer of leaves down. Now, yes, some weeds could get through that. However, I'm an obsessive gardener, and so I will be able to, see what's growing where and when, if it does indeed pop up through there, and pull it out, transplant it, feed it to the chickens, or compost it. It should be controllable as long as it's not grass or some sort of a shrub. Those are a little bit harder. Those have to be taken care of first. So what am I going to construct these sides on? Once I decided not to put down any barrier other than organic leaves, what was I going to construct the sides with? I'm very, very fortunate. I live in a forest, and so I have a plethora of fallen trees, and all I have to do is drag those over here. Now I decided what I was going to, how I was going to attach them and stack them. I have a plethora also of those nylon cords that your straw and hay are bound with, and they're very, very tight, and those things last forever. They need a second life. And so lashing my logs together to create the sides for my raised bed garden, I think is going to be a perfect solution. It's going to give those a second life, and I don't have to buy anything. And so also I wanted to talk about tilling. I decided that the way that I was going to go was I'm not going to try and till here in the Ozarks and my rocky soil. Instead, I'm just going to put the pitchfork in. It's what's called low till, and you just rock your pitchfork back and forth and rock it and just loosen it. You do not actually turn the soil, and that loosens the soil and allows your compost to start seeping down. I'm also not going to have my soil tested because I don't want to put any amendments on it right now. I want to see where I'm at this year, see how well my garden does, and then next year, should I need to add something, I should be able to tell through the plants what I need. I could have the soil tested. I kind of know what's in this area. And this is an ancient area, and it's never been, no herbicides or anything like that's ever been on it. And so I don't think I have to worry about that too much, but we'll find out for sure next year. And so what am I going to fill my beds with? That was another thing. So I think I have some very humus soil up here in the forest, and it's just fallen leaves that have decayed, and you all know that that makes humus, and I have an abundance of that. And so I think we're just going to chop up those leaves. We're going to chop up the bunny poo and straw. And so we're going to have a lot of carbon, and we're going to have a lot of nitrogen, and we're going to mix that together. And then I have a huge stack of branches outside that I've been letting the birds live in this year. It's what some people call a rabbitat. I call it a birditat. And at the end of this winter, in just a few weeks, actually, wow, winter's going by so fast. We'll be shredding those up, and we'll be adding that. So we'll have our own topsoil, our own compost, and our own amendments that we're going to build it up with. And also decided that I didn't want anything blocking me from the soil, from the substrate soil underneath, because I want to be able to use row covers on my brassicas. I want to stop that problem before it starts. I already know that I would get the adult cabbage moths laying their eggs there, and I would have to contend with those little baby caterpillars and slugs and things. So I know beforehand I'm going to need to put some stakes in one part of the garden and have a row cover so that I can keep that covered, so I can hopefully keep those adult flies out of there. All right, guys, so those are just some of my decisions that I made, and maybe on my third video, I'll take you guys outside and walk you around and show you what all I planned and how I planned it out. All right, guys, love and light, many blessings. Go Chiefs.